Hey, so I've decided that since school is unfortunately going to be starting in like a month. Oh wow! That I should make a tutorial or two in relation to back to school. So I've wanted to make these for a long time, and I decided that I just said, okay, what the heck, I'll go for it, and I made these studded chucks. And these are, I've really wanted to make these. I've seen them all over on like sites like What Goes Around Comes Around, and they're all over Etsy. But it's just like, you look at the price tag and like What Goes Around Comes Around, they're like $200. And so it's just like, I could make these for like a quarter of that price. And I did pretty much. But yeah, they're really easy to make, but they're really time consuming. Like to make both shoes, it took me about 3 hours. Yeah, 3 hours. And also, your fingers are gonna hurt afterwards, just so you know. But yeah, but in the end, it was totally worth it. I love the look, and I'm going to show you what you're gonna need for this tutorial. But yeah, for this tutorial, obviously, you're gonna need a pair of high top chucks. And yeah, and also studs. I got my studs off of an old leather belt from Savers that I just like pulled off the studs. There was like 43 rows. Yeah, there was 43 rows of 3 studs, and I just used a pair of pliers and pulled them all off the belt. And I think I got the belt for like $1 at Savers. And it turned out really good because I got a bunch of the studs of the same size, so they all match, and really it just worked out really good because I didn't have that much left over for this. And also, the thing that separates this tutorial from a bunch of other tutorials on YouTube is that afterwards, after you finish putting all the studs on, you're gonna want to glue some felt into your shoe so that it doesn't. So that when you put that when you're wearing the shoe, like the prongs of the studs aren't gonna like rub against your feet and rub them raw and like stab your feet. But yeah, so for this you're gonna need felt and fabric glue. And so, and I'll show you now. Let's get started. Okay, so first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take all the studs you have that you're going to use on both your shoes and make sure that you have an equal amount for both shoes, so you don't end up using more on one than another. So, and with the method I did, I got an old belt from Savers, and I just took a pair of pliers and pulled all the studs off. So I ended up getting 129 studs off the belt, and then so I had the odd studs, so I just divided the number. So I just divided the number by 2, and I got and so I have 68 studs for each shoe. And again, with that method, you're going to want to take a pair of pliers, and after you've taken them all out, and then straighten out the legs, because they can get bent when you're taking them out, as you can kind of see with this one. And you're going to want to try to get them as straight as possible. Okay, so you're going to want to take your shoe, and I will show you on the shoe. So there's this little rubber thing in between the lining and the shell that the manufacturers put in Converse for the structure, so that the shoe will lay better on your foot. And so unless you're really dead set on doing this, you're not going to be able to get this through this little rubber part here. So that's why I'm going to start here. But yeah, if you're really dead set on getting it in here, you're gonna need an X-Acto knife, I'm pretty sure. And the downside to that is you're not going to be able to see like how it's going to lay. I can't really explain it, but it's best to do it with the way that you can see it, with the way that you can see how it's going to go through the fabric, rather than you're kind of doing it blind if you take an X-Acto knife to go through the rubber part. But yeah, so first row is most important. So, and you're going to want to make sure you're going to get the first row really straight, because that makes it easier to do the rest of the shoe. And so what I'm doing is I'm going to put studs all along here up until the point where if I put another stud, it'd be coming into the stitching. So I'm not going to be touching the stitching on the shoe. So you're going to want to take the stud. It's pretty self-explanatory. So you're just going to want to push it through, and you want to try to get as close to the little rubber, the outsole rubber part as possible. And then you're just going to want to set, and then you're just going to want to take the prongs that you pushed inside and make sure that they are all the way in. If they're not as far in as you can get them, then you're going to want to pull the stud out and then use your pliers and straighten the legs out, because that's usually the part that's usually why they won't go in all the way. So, and then you flatten the two legs, which you really can't see what I'm doing, but yeah, you can pretty much tell what to do. And so you have your first stud, and I will show you on the other shoe, on the first shoe that I finished, that you're going to want to take, do about 11 studs. It's going to be different for everyone, and depending on how many studs you have and how big your feet are, but I don't want it to go too far out, and then so for the next, and then as you can see, this helps to have the first row straight, because then helps as a guide for the next few rows. Okay, so this is what a couple of hours of progress looks like, and as you can see, I'm going to start rounding around the back part, the rubber back part of the shoe, so that every time usually you add another stud on the end, usually, and as you can see on the finished shoe, that you can kind of see the pattern that's going on here. I went up, I just did 2 rows where I didn't add one, and then I added one, and then I added 2. Okay, but yes, you can see that now. And then you're just going to continue going up the shoe, making sure that you have enough studs again to do what you need to do. So yeah, this is in case you didn't realize, this is a long project. Okay, so I figured I should show you how to, when you're working your way around, how to get it so it's going to be really, really like level and squared off. So how I'm doing this, I've just finished this row, and so what I'm doing is I'm putting a stud in right above it, and okay, and making sure that that is all squared off there. Okay, as you can see there. And then what I'm going to do is then I'm going to put another stud right next to it, and making sure that that is all squared off with this one, so that I can make sure that the one on the end is squared off, rather than putting the one on the end on first and then putting this one on first. Just a little quick tip. Okay, so after you finish putting on all the studs on your shoe, you're gonna want to put something inside of it, and that is where, you're going to want to put something inside of it so that every time you take your foot in and out, or are just generally walking around in your shoe, these little prongs aren't going to stab you and rub your feet raw. So basically, what I've come up with a technique in this, and I put a piece of felt, and I glue a piece of felt in there with fabric glue. And the reason I choose felt is because it won't fray when you cut it, and it's thick enough that it's not gonna just get it's not just gonna catch on one of these prongs and then just gonna completely fall, and then the prongs are gonna be able to stab you in the feet. So basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna cut it to the shape that you need to cover all the studs while you're leaving your eyelets closed, or so that you don't block your eyelets with the fabric. And you are going to use then you're going to take some of your fabric glue, and you're going to want to make sure that it's actual fabric glue, not like not tacky glue, because tacky glue doesn't tend to last that long. And you're going to want to take it and just kind of spread it around in there. Just take a little bit and then spread it all around in there. Make sure you coat all over in there. And you can really just do this with a paint. You could probably just do this with a paintbrush, but I'm just spreading it around with the nozzle. Fumes. Oh yeah, and you're gonna want to make sure that you have your have the tongue of the shoe out of the way so that it doesn't get anything on it or whatnot while you're doing this. And so you are going to take your fabric and then lay that in there, and making sure that you're getting that you're covering all of the studs with your fabric, and then press it down in there. And basically, after you've pressed it down in there, I would recommend just weighting it down in there with something like a book or whatnot, and then I'm gonna let it sit overnight, and then it's pretty much ready to wear. And then lace them up, and you have yourself a pair of studded Converse.